Hey, it's A Humble Collector here, and today's video we're going to take a look at another photo from my collection. This one shows four U.S. soldiers on what, according to the caption, is Saipan. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So as I said, we see four soldiers here, three of them in these lighter colored uniforms, one in a darker uniform in the back, and we can actually see that they seem to be sitting on a hill overlooking some kind of coastline, with a couple of like small bays basically forming it. And on the back of the photo here, we can see it's captioned Saipan, and the photographer has put their name as BB Gilks. Now, the Battle of Saipan, we haven't really talked about on this channel before. We do mainly focus on the Eastern Front. However, Saipan took place from June 15th to July 9th of 1944, and this battle is significant as part of the Marianas Islands campaign, and the invasion of Saipan was also partially responsible for the Battle of the Philippine Sea. So, it's a pretty significant battle, even if it doesn't last a long time. And it does get somewhat overshadowed by the D-Day invasion that happened just a week prior. Now, starting with the soldiers themselves, we can see they all appear to be American soldiers, which makes sense. As far as I can tell from my research, there were no Commonwealth forces involved in the invasion of Saipan. It was just U.S. Army and Marines that were involved. And we can also infer that they're in a pretty safe area based on this photo. Nobody's wearing their helmets. They seem pretty nonchalant for being out in the open. And given the short period that the battle occurred in, it's pretty safe to assume this photo was taken after the battle. And based on some other information I'll talk about in a minute, that lends more credence to that as well. Now, going through these soldiers one at a time, the soldier sitting closest to the camera we can see is smoking, and he's the only one looking toward the photographer. Everybody else seems to be kind of caught up in some kind of conversation that's happening on the side here. Now, obviously, again, smoking on the front line, that's something to give you away, so once again, these guys appear to feel pretty safe wherever it is that they're at. Now, moving to the second soldier here, we can see that he is a captain, based on his rank insignia, which, again, if they were on the front line, probably wouldn't want to be wearing that. So, again, lends itself to this being after the battle. The third soldier we can see has an M1 carbine strapped across his back. And the final soldier is kind of interesting. He's in a darker green uniform and is also wearing a Daisy May cap. Very similar, kind of like a predecessor to the boonie caps that we'd see later on in the U.S. military. Interestingly enough, as far as I can tell, these were actually phased out in favor of the M41 or M43 field cap. I didn't put it in my notes, should have. Apologies. So either the soldier here, who I believe is a Marine, who's wearing this Daisy May, either he was in the military prior to them being phased out and had kept it, or he'd somehow acquired one later on. But it's kind of unusual. You don't see it too often in these photos. Now, U.S. uniforms, I'm not a total expert on. That being said, I've done a lot of comparisons. I think that these three first soldiers, including the captain here, are U.S. Army, and I think that the fourth gentleman here is a U.S. Marine, based on the fact he's wearing the darker green, like the green HBT uniforms that the Marines were wearing in the Pacific. I might be wrong on that. If I am, please let me know down below. And interestingly, I was actually able to track this photo down. So normally when we have random photos from, the Eastern Front or somewhere else, that's a lot of ground to cover, and I just don't have the time or the expertise to really pinpoint these photos. However, because we're on an island here and Saipan is not particularly big, I was able to spend some time working with some friends, sitting in a Discord chat, and we actually found pretty close to where I think this photo was taken. So pulling it up on the map here, in the northern part of the island between the settlements of Marpi and Pidos Kahalo, if I go on to Street View here and show you, looking back down the coast here, you can see that actually lines up pretty well with the coastline that is in the back of the photo. So I think somewhere on this hillside on the northern part of the island is where this photo is taken. Now, what's really interesting is that on the map, there are two historic sites that come up when you look in this area. One is the Suicide Cliff, where thousands of Japanese soldiers committed suicide at the end of the battle, as well as the last Japanese command post. So this little hill up here in the north part of the island is where the remnants of the Japanese garrison made their last stand, as it were. So based off that, again, pretty obvious from this photo, given how close it is to those locations, this had to have been taken after the battle. Whether that was shortly after or months later, I can't really say. Now, unfortunately, the name on the photo that we have, BB Gilks, I could not find him. Now, I did find literally one record on Ancestry that I could find for a B. Gilks was for a Beresford B. Gilks, and he was in the 8th Air Force, which obviously was in Europe and not the Pacific, so unfortunately, BB Gilks, whoever he was, his files were likely lost in the archive fire back in the 70s, which is very unfortunate because I'd be curious to see if he was Army or Marine or how that all worked out. But yeah, really interesting photo. Really cool. We're kind of able to pinpoint exactly where it was taken. And yeah, we don't talk about the Pacific War very often on the channel, so I thought it'd be kind of an interesting one to bring up. So yeah, overall, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below. Love hearing from you. Thank you all for watching. Happy collecting, and I'll see you all again very soon.